My name is Mel Tomeo, and I'm a full-time game instructor for the Magic department at Miami-Dade College. Hello, everyone, and today we will be working with cubes and spheres in physics, and we're going to be messing around with gravity and collisions. So first thing that I want to do here on the left is create a simple plane. So left mouse button, click, 3D object, plane. And again, when you create a plane, it automatically positions it at 0, 0, 0 on the X, Y, and Z axis. Okay, so I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. The next thing that I want to do now is create a cube. So I'm going to right mouse click 3D object cube. Okay, and here I'm going to change the position to 0, 5, 0 on the X, Y, and Z axis for the cube. Okay, now if I press the play button, you should see that the cube will stay stationary and nothing happens. I hit the unplay button. Now if I come over to the inspector on the right for the cube and I go to add component and I type in rigid body, and again it's a normal rigid body, not a 2D, because we're not working with 2D objects, we're working with 3D objects. And you can see here, once you add a rigid body, you have a property here that says use gravity, and it's check marked automatically. So if I press the play button, you can see that the cube now will fall and land on the plane. Okay, and the reason why it stops on the plane here is because the cube has a box collider, and so does the plane. The plane has a mesh collider. So when two colliders collide with each other, they stop. They don't pass through the object. Now to test that out, what I'm going to do is take the collider off the plane, the mesh collider off the plane, press the play button, and now the cube falls through the plane because we took the collider off the plane. If I put the collider back on there by checking that checkbox again, and I press play, you should now see it stop and land on the plane because I put the collider back on the plane. Same thing with the cube. If I took the box collider off and I press play, it will pass right through the plane. I'm going to put that box collider back. Okay, next you have inside the box collider edit collider. So if you hit the edit collider, you can then zoom in and you can see this is the collider here in green. And if you take these little boxes here, you can take the box collider and change the size of the cube to where now the collider extends past the actual model of the cube. So let's see if we can change the bottom here. All right, so I'm going to change the collider so there's a lot of space between the bottom of the box collider and between the cube. Now I press play, and you can see that the collider now stopped the cube, and it doesn't even touch now. The actual model of the cube doesn't touch the plane because we extended the box collider below the cube. Okay, so hit the unplay button. Next thing that I want to do now is I'm going to delete this cube, I'm going to add in a sphere. And the next thing that I want to do now is down here in the bottom in the project window, right mouse click, create, and I'm looking for physics material, the first one, not the 2D, the first one here. And I'm just going to call this bounce. And now I'm going to add this in to the sphere collider, this physics material that we created. So I'm going to drag and drop it into the sphere collider. And then I'm going to click on this and I'm going to change the bounciness to 1. And well, before I do that, actually, I'm just going to press play. And let's see what happens when I have it at 1. Nothing happens. Why? Because I don't have a rigid body on there. That's why. So if I go and add a rigid body, again, it gives it gravity. So gravity is going to make it fall. And I press play. You can see that it bounces a little bit and then it stops on the plane. And what's making it bounce is this physics material that we added to the sphere. And there's other things too on the rigid body here where you can freeze the position, freeze the rotation, change the collision detection to continuously, discrete, etc. We're just going to leave that all by default. And now the next thing that I want to do, and again, we have the sphere, it bounces a little bit, and that's all it does. So I want to change now the properties to this physics material that we call bounce to the friction combined. I'm going to change it to max and the bounce combined to max. So what this should do now is every time that this sphere collides with the plane, it's going to increase the bounciness, and it's going to keep increasing it every time it collides with the plane. So if I press play, and you can see how it bounces up and it keeps bouncing higher and bouncing higher. And you can see eventually it's going to go off my screen here on the game window where I can't see it anymore. Almost out of the game window. So again, that will make this sphere keep bouncing higher and higher and higher every time it collides with the plane. You can change the different size of the materials here, the lighting, all in the inspector window. The mass, if you want to change the mass of the rigid body, you can change the mass, the drag, etc. And I'm just going to set that back to 1. And again, with the sphere, if you took that collider off, press play, it'll pass right through the plane. I'm going to put that back on. And again, you can edit the collider here. You can edit the collider of the sphere. And that's just by simply pressing this little edit collider button. That's all for this tutorial. Thank you and have a good day.